Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. This is the day that we have all been waiting for, the developer update from Christopher Barrett that tells us a little bit more about what we can expect in the very immediate future and more coming later this year. The article was very thorough and very candid. It featured a lot of great specific details, but a lot of really vague ones as well. Bungie has definitely delivered on their promise to address all of the feedback that has been given to them over the past couple months, and in this video we're going to break down the highlights from that developer update in 12 talking points. As usual, I'll summarize what each of those points are, and I'll give you my insight into what I think that is and what I think it really means for the game. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, jumping right into it, we have topic number 1, the distinction of Destiny content categories. This is something that I thought was already supposed to be a thing, but then was kind of confused a little bit with the release of Curse of Osiris, and that is kind of defining what is always going to be free for players and what is going to be locked behind DLC. So they gave us this handy little graph that shows us exactly what we can expect. So expansions are going to be what is locked behind DLC that you have to purchase. Those things are going to include new campaigns and strikes, new destinations, new destination rewards, new raid layers, new crucible maps, and new legendary and exotic gear. Kind of the stuff that we expect. And then there's the distinction of seasons, and this is always going to be free for everybody. That content includes Iron Banner and faction rallies, seasonal reputation rewards, endgame playlists, seasonal events, and new features and updates. And we're going to be going over some of these in a little bit more detail in just a moment. But then we have Eververse. So Eververse is not leaving the game. That's not a realistic expectation. There are some cool changes coming, which we'll go over in a minute as well. But first up, we can see that Eververse will include customization options, boons, and emotes. And that leads us to topic number 2, which is Eververse. This was sort of the big topic of conversation that we were expecting to get from Bungie, and it seems like the solution might be pretty simple for right now anyways. And that really mainly comes down to shifting the balance of new content in favor of activity rewards over bright engrams. This includes adding ghosts, sparrows, and ships currently only found in bright engrams to achievement reward pools. We don't know exactly how that's going to break down by activity, but it is going to be something that's added for Season 3. So for the remainder of Season 2, Eververse is going to function the way it currently does. So these changes will be taking place whenever Season 3 hits, which currently looks like it's going to be sometime inside of March. Now they're also adding some paths to earn bright engrams, and all contain rewards, including event engrams. On top of that, they're going to be giving players more direct purchase options, and they're going to make adjustments to bright engrams to allow players to get the items they want more often. I'll be very curious to see what the direct purchase options are. In a video I made a while ago, I suspected that it might be something like being able to use silver to purchase items directly. That's definitely one possibility, but I suspect we'll be learning a lot more about Season 3 in about a month or so. Now, as I predicted, Crimson Days is going to be the first time that we're going to be able to see these changes take effect. They want to really show us that they've learned from the Dawning. So Crimson Days being their next live event, this is their opportunity to show us what some of those changes might look like. And a lot of it has to do with being able to earn a lot of the stuff for just simply participating in the event. For instance, completing the Nightfall, Raid, and Crimson Days milestones during the Crimson Days will reward you an exclusive legendary emote, weapon skin, and exotic sparrow respectively. Players will earn double engrams at level up, 1 Crimson engram and 1 Illuminated engram. This is super smart. Crimson engrams will also drop from completing the Crimson Days matches and for completing the Crimson Days milestone on each character. So it sounds like you have a small chance of getting a Crimson Days engram on match completion, which is pretty huge. And on top of that, all of the Crimson engrams will be strongly weighted to the new rewards, so this all seems to be headed in the right direction. This is what we need from Eververse. I'm just very curious to see some of the more specific details, but I guess we'll have to find out soon enough on February 13th. And of course, we'll continue the Eververse conversation as more information is revealed. Now, moving on from that, we got a lot of information about what we can expect from future releases. They highlighted 3 releases that we can count on in the very near future. We have one in January, one in February, and one that says spring, so I suspect this will be alongside the release of Season 3, either in March or early April. So starting with the January update, which is set to deploy January 30th, we have topic number 3, Masterwork Armor. So this is going to be complementing the current Masterwork weapon system, just applying those perks to armor. They're a little different now and make more sense for armor. So first up we have, for instance, a Masterwork Armor perk that reduces incoming damage while your super is active. Now, the coolest feature of Masterwork Armor is being able to re-roll your stats. So this is something that I'm really hoping that will help me roll out of mobility with my hunter sets. Moving on, the second major item for the January update is going to be raid reward reworking. Say that 5 times fast. But they're basically reworking all of the raid gear to include mods that already feature raid specific perks. This is kind of like how they used to behave in Destiny 1. On top of that, they're adjusting the rewards to make sure you get an item every single encounter. The raid vendor will also be selling Leviathan and Eater of Worlds armors and weapons for purchase with raid tokens and legendary shards. This is huge. They are also adding ghosts with raid specific perks that have a chance to drop from Leviathan and Eater of Worlds. And they also are aiming to create more raid and other activity unique rewards in the future. So I think this is going to be something like ships and sparrows that you can earn from the raid, and other activity unique rewards might be implying strike specific loot, but we'll just have to wait and see. Next up, we move on to the February update and item number 5, which is the return of strike scoring. Now this has some larger implications than it might seem because of the following. First up, strike scoring is coming to the Nightfall, and it's replacing the current time limit mechanic. The scoring is similar to how it was in Destiny 1, except now it's going to reward something that they refer to as player selectable score modifiers. Not exactly sure what this means still. We'll probably get a lot more information before February. Now, to complement the system, the Nightfall high scores will be exposed in-game and will actually unlock additional rewards. And they also have plans for clan and community high scores in the future. Now, my hope with this, and something that seems almost necessary, is a reworking of the modifiers for the Nightfall. They seem a little bland, and I'm hoping for an expanded modifier selection with really interesting objectives for the strikes. But moving on, we have item number 6 for February, and that is Mods 2.0. This is going to be something that we're going to be very much looking forward to in February. We don't have all of the specifics right now, but they have a couple of big highlights. They want to reduce redundant mods, they want to have more unique theming for mods, and they want to greatly increase their impact on your power. So they're aiming for a February release, but with the great scope of this rework, it could be pushed to early spring, which would be totally fine. And they want to evaluate how mods play into Bright Engrams, since if they are more impactful, it might be more of a pay-to-win type situation with them coming in Bright Engrams. My hope is that they just remove mods from Bright Engrams altogether. They always felt like filler anyways, and they could increase the amount of actual good rewards you get from the Bright Engrams, which would be pretty nice. Now, point number 7 is some quality of life improvements coming in the February update. First up, we have some improvements to quick play. They're going to be adjusting game mode rules to increase the pace of gameplay and power ammo acquisition. I'm hoping this means that players will now drop their power ammo for others to pick up when they die. Next up is PC Tower Chat. This should make recruiting a lot easier. And then we have the exotic replication reduction that we've been promised for a while now, and then a surprise awesome new feature, which is Fireteam members on the destination map. So you'll be able to see exactly where the members of your fire team are, and you won't have to guess where they went when they teleport to a different landing zone. This seems like a no-brainer, but I'm glad they're finally putting it into the game. And that's it for the February update. That one is shaping up to be very nice indeed. But now we're moving on to a pretty huge update coming in the spring, and let's start with point number 8, and that is Ranked Crucible. Now, before I jump into Ranked Crucible, they did make a mention that it's possible that Season 3 will be independent of Expansion 2. They mentioned that they want to have time to react to the feedback from Curse of Osiris to deliver a better story, But it's good to know that that's not going to be delaying the spring update, which again starts with Ranked Crucible. And we can get a sneak peek of what that might look like in this image before you. So there's basically going to be two different ranks, Valor and Glory. Valor is a progression rank that goes up as you complete matches. Winning takes you up faster, but losing doesn't take you down. And then you have Glory, which is something that you might be more familiar with, which is a progression rank that goes up when you win and down when you lose. Performance is how you move up. If I had to venture a guess, Quick Play is going to have Valor, and Competitive is going to feature Glory, but it's hard to tell. There's a lot we just don't know because that's all they've told us so far about ranking. If I had to look from this image, it looks like you're going to be able to unlock different emblems that are going to kind of showcase your different levels of achievement, and then they're going to feature the counter for either Valor or Glory, depending on which emblem you currently have active. Interestingly, it looks like it's on a similar scale to Overwatch, and if we use those terms, it looks like the Fireteam leader here has achieved the rank of Legend with 5,500 Glory points. I'm definitely very excited for Ranked, and I think it has the potential to carry us through the summer, which is what we really need leading up to the major expansion in the fall. Moving on, we have point number 9, which is private matches. This is pretty straightforward. It's exactly how it was in Destiny 1, and it's coming back for us to be able to queue into our private matches. Not really a whole lot of complication there. But moving on to point number 10, we have some really interesting new changes to the playlists, including a 6v6 playlist in addition to the current 4v4. My guess is that it's going to be a brand new quick play type playlist that maybe centers around a brand new objective based game mode, utilizing the bigger team in interesting ways. Here is hoping for a legit capture the flag. On top of that, they've received our feedback about loving Mayhem, and they will be returning as a limited time event during Season 3 and going forward, so it looks like at the very least we'll be getting Mayhem once a season. Moving on from that, we have point number 11, which are some quality of life improvements coming in the spring, which will include a sandbox tuning for weapon and ability balances. We have exotic weapons and armors being balanced, we have seasonal reputation being added to the game, which will earn you unique rewards as you achieve certain ranks. This is going to be huge. They're going to be continually improving Iron Banner and faction rallies to make them unique and more exciting moving forward, and make them activities that we can actually look forward to. Playlist repetition reduction, which is going to be very nice. Endgame player pursuits, which I really wish was a bit more detailed. Kind of a big deal. We don't really have strong player pursuits for the endgame. But hopefully this will result in things like hidden exotic quests, alternative mission endings, and maybe even dead ghosts and collectibles of that nature. Continuing the quality of life list, we have multi-emotes. We're finally going to be able to designate which emote goes in which slot. We're going to have additions to vault space. This is their first step into improving the whole vault system. First up, they're adding 50 slots to the player vaults, and they're finally adding an exotic accessories tab to the vault collections, so you will no longer need to spend vault space on your exotic ships, sparrows, and ghosts. So that means once you get it once, you will have it forever. That's awesome. And then we have PC clan chat, which honestly a lot of people currently probably just use Discord or something like that anyways, but it's nice to have it in game. And then we have heroic strike changes, which means they are finally adding modifiers to strikes. Awesome. So that wraps up the 3 major updates we're going to be getting before the second expansion. If you ask me, that's a lot of cool stuff coming to the game very soon. Of course, these aren't the end-all be-all solutions, and a lot of them are still pretty vague with very little detail, but at least they're telling us what they're working on, which is a huge step in the right direction. Now, before signing off, Christopher Barrett wanted to give us a bit more insight into the future of the game, which is definitely something very new for Bungie, and I hope that the community can respond in the right way. And that brings us to point number 12, Fall 2018. Now, of course, it's very soon to be talking about specifics for this, especially since they're going to want to unveil that, because it's probably going to be alongside whatever the big major expansion is going to be for Destiny 2. But we have a short list of things that we can expect moving forward. It's nice to have this stuff in the back of our head. Just knowing that they're working on this stuff is pretty cool. So here is the short list. First up, we have improvements to item collections and rewards. This is probably going to be hinting at Destiny moving towards more of a collection game and giving you an actual way to collect those items. for you to know what you've achieved and what you still need to get done. Secondly, we have weapon slot and archetype improvements. This is potentially massive. We don't know what this could be implying, if they're going to be reverting back to the weapon system from Destiny 1, could they just be making adjustments and moving certain weapons in different slots? We have also archetype improvements, meaning they're probably going to be looking at archetypes that are not used very often and tweaking those a little bit, but again, these are conversations that are probably going to be happening late summer. Moving on, we have additional Crucible playlists, example Rumble, which is huge, better clan rewards, Masterwork exotics, Pinnacle weapons and gear improvements, Trials of the Nine improvements, shaders and dismantling, the future of guided games, and addressing solar versus fire team matching, which honestly I hope becomes a lot less alienating than something like a Lone Wolf playlist, which I always felt like a band-aid response as opposed to an actual solution to the issue. And that brings us to the end of this video. Again, apologies for the size and length of the video. There's a lot of information to go over, and I try to skim past a lot of it. Of course, if you want to read the full notes, because believe it or not, this was just a truncated version of that, I'll go ahead and leave a link to all of the updates down below. Of course, there's still a lot more to talk about. I'll be expanding on a lot of these topics over the coming weeks. But until then, are you excited for these updates? Do you think spring is going to be a great time for Destiny? Do you think the players are going to be coming back to PvP? Let's discuss. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more Destiny content. And I will see you all next time.